All right, so what is up, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Shots, episode 20. Today we're here with a special guest. We got Taylor Venz from Nebraska. He's an All-American. He's going into his senior season.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, for sure,
No
man.
problem, Taylor. We happy to see. We've been having a lot of guests lately. You were obviously somebody that we had talked to way prior before we've had these last couple people come on. So we were somebody, and you were somebody we wanted to have on for a while. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about, how you wrestled in high school and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to pass it over to Akil. He's going to take you, kind of talk you through your college career so far.
Sounds good, bro.
Let's just get started with when did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling in kindergarten. Was like 5 years old or so, and then
Yeah, you see that a lot. I say this every time in the videos, though. We see this a lot with every guy we talk to. All these higher level guys at these Division I colleges all started basically whenever they were able to. So, did someone like in your life influence you to wrestle, or was that just kind of something your parents thought, why not try it for them?
Yeah, I think my dad wrestled. Well, he wrestled in high school. My uncle did too. He wrestled in college, and when I was young, at that point, I was a pretty active kid, and I did ice skating lessons because hockey's big in Minnesota, and then I did wrestling for a year. And I remember I had the choice between wrestling and hockey. And after a couple years of ice skating lessons, and I decided wrestling just because I liked it more. And then, it was just my favorite sport for a long time. And then I realized probably in middle school or so that like I like this sport a lot more than some of the people around me. I really love the sport.
Yeah, so like you said, obviously, probably Minnesota hockey is probably one of the biggest sports there. Obviously, you see that a lot with
High school
those
sport,
type
yeah.
of states. Yeah. Up where I am from Pennsylvania, we don't really have ice hockey. We maybe have two or three teams just in my area and as a whole that have ice hockey. It is few and far between in a lot of states to see ice hockey as a sport.
Yes.
So were you like somebody who was like a prospect when you were younger and like kind of coming into high school? Were you like well known and we're like, all right, this kid's gonna be really, really good?
I don't think that much. I wasn't that successful youth, or nationally. Even at the state level, I went to the MNUSA state tournament a bunch, and I didn't even place till I was maybe in like seventh grade. And then, I did freestyle Greco a bunch, but I was never good enough to be on cadet duels or schoolboy duels. And then, as I got older, I did junior duels and stuff, but I wasn't really that big of a prospect coming into high school, I don't think. I was doing all right. I trained at Pinnacle a lot during those years. And so I think the people in that room knew that I was going to be pretty good. But other than that, not really.
So let's just talk a bit about you coming into high school. So you wrestled obviously in Minnesota. Is it 8th grade varsity or 9th grade varsity?
Actually, you can start in seventh grade.
Oh, because
You can start in 7th grade.
Yeah, I lettered in varsity that year because I started, wrestled maybe 10 matches at 103 pounds that year. And then 8th grade, I was the full-time 106, 9th grade again too.
So you find yourself, being in 8th grade where most wrestlers are still on the junior high team. So how was that for you kind of wrestling like the seniors, juniors, sophomore, freshman when you were just in 8th grade?
Yeah, I was pretty underdeveloped at that time, but that was fine. I knew that eventually I was going to grow and get strong and catch up, so I had to be, more technical at that point, especially, 8th grade year, 9th grade year. But I also saw it as an opportunity, 7th and 8th grade, to just wrestle at the next level, and not all states have that. And I think if Minnesota didn't allow 7th and 8th graders to wrestle in high school, then the middle school level would probably be really tough. But since we can wrestle high school, everyone just goes there. So luckily I was just big enough to be in the lineup, so I fitted in 8th grade year, and that was great for me.
So obviously, you made some big strides here just looking up at some of your stats. So what kind of clicked in that summer from 8th grade to 9th grade that, pushed you forward?
I think, I was going in my third year at the same weight basically. And I was just, I made the state tournament. I felt good, and I was going into high school, and I was kind of, isolating myself just as a wrestler and almost socially too, like in a weird way. And I was just completely focused on winning. Going into that season, I put a lot of work in, and it's easy to be confident when you put work in. And so that's where my confidence came from. But, I visualized winning that year a ton. Visualization was a huge key part of that. So
Yeah, so you're in Minnesota, obviously. Powerhouse there is Apple Valley. Having
right.
guys like, Mark Hall's 6-time state champ, Gable, who's a 4-timer, you have Bobby, and you have Seth Gross also. Are those guys like that you were like looking at like while you're like younger,
Yeah, when I was young, Apple Valley was the best in the country. Like Dustin McCulley, Jake Waste, Dakota Trom. They had guys coming in from all over the country, so they were kind of hated for that. And Farmington's definitely the opposite. Like we were a close knit team, and the youth, and growing up early on. And by the time we got to high school, we brought our team to the state tournament for the first time. And crazy thing is, when I was growing up, Apple Valley was the best in the country. There's awesome to watch wrestle, but I think this year, maybe last year, Farmington, my high school team, beat Apple Valley in their duel.
Yeah.
And so, things are kind of changing, but yeah, Apple Valley, they've actually had a lot of good guys like Seth Gross, Mark Hall, both Stevensons, do well in college,
Yeah. So you're a freshman, obviously. How did that feel? Just qualifying, just being at that state tournament. So you did qualify your 8th grade year?
Yep. And then I made the second day, but I didn't place.
So you didn't place that 8th grade year. You kind of just, like you said, isolated yourself just over the summers, kind of working on it. I'm sure you worked out a ton. So how are you feeling? You're at the state tournament at your freshman year, and what's going through your mind at that point? You're just ready to win?
Yeah, so that tournament, I was ranked second in the state, and Mitchell McKee is number 1. And so he was the guy to beat. And he was, super strong. We'd wrestled at Pinnacle, and, he'd usually kind of kick my butt by maybe scoring him once a practice. Other than that, he kicked my butt. And I knew that he was the guy I would have to beat, like the best guy in the state. And back then they didn't seed the Minnesota State tournament, so we got drawn in to wrestle in the semis. And so, that year I did a lot of visualizing wrestling him. Basically every scenario I could possibly think of, I would do it before going to bed, do it during school and, during class and stuff. And then, I was just confident going into that tournament and that match. And, it was a wild match. I was down 5-0 going into the third period, and still believed that I was going to win because I had visualized being in that position where, I knew I'm like, he's bigger and stronger. I'm gonna have to get him tired, type of thing. And I found a way to score, a bunch of points in the third period, and then go on to the finals and win as a 106-pounder as a freshman. That was pretty fun. So.
Yeah, you didn't look
Yeah.
like a small 106-pounder though. You look like you were still like decently sized.
I was cutting a decent amount of weight. I wrestled 113 throughout most of that year, and then 106 at the end. Yeah.
So, hey, you dream it, you believe it. You saw yourself winning a state title, and you did it. How did that feel being up on that podium as a freshman? I mean, that's pretty much every high school freshman's dream, in any state, to see themselves up on the top of the podium.
Yeah, man, I think I dreamt about being a state champ for so long and figured it might not come until my senior year of high school. And having done it as a freshman, like, it was pretty amazing feeling. And I had a ton of family there, family on both sides of my parents. They come to support so much my wrestling. And they've been doing that since I was just in high school. So that was a cool part too.
So I'm sure, you kind of put your name in the history books at your high school. Do you guys have like the like the big banners and everything with all the state champs on it, or?
So they finally are getting that kind of stuff up this year, getting the names up on the boards. But yeah, we had there's a one-time state champion Farmington history, and then I was a two-timer, and my friend Victor Gleva was a two-timer or a one-timer, two-time finalist. Then guys like Jamie LeDuc was a two-time finalist, my grade as well. So we had a few, studs in our class for sure.
So you see it, you're a freshman, you won, you basically won you're the big guy. So how did that feel coming back to school after that state tournament? Was everybody like, wow, that was kind of crazy to see?
Yeah. I was extremely socially awkward at that time because I was scrawny, I was pretty socially awkward. And so it was cool. Like people were they knew that I was kind of a quiet kid, but that I worked really hard. And I probably didn't get as much recognition as the other wrestlers thought I should have gotten, but I was okay with it because I'm like, I don't really want I don't want to draw too much attention,
Yeah.
at the time. So
Minnesota, so like you said, is wrestling like super big, or is it kind of just
I think it's a pretty big wrestling state. I mean, the Gophers are a big reason that the high school level is tough, and Pinnacle is kind of a reason too in recent years. But the U of M they were super dominant in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I think that's when the high school kind of matched. I don't know.
All right, so you come off of a big state championship win your freshman season. I'm sure you work just as hard to get, where you were at a bit, I'm sure, from that, kind of scrawny 106, which, I mean, you kind of just grew into your body basically at that point, you're kind of growing up a little bit. So you see yourself sophomore year at 126, what played out at the state tournament that year?
Yeah, I think I might have made 120 a couple times that year, but I ended up going 126 at the end. I wrestled all right. I lost a match that was like kind of a surprise loss in the semis, and Tommy Thorne would have been in the finals on the other side, and that was really about coming back and getting third place. It was important that I was able to do that the year after I was a state champ. I'm like, third place is almost better than second because you're going out on a win. And a lot of people, after they lose at the end of the year tournament, they put their head down. And, I kind of like coming through on the backside and beating guys emotionally a little bit. And that was the first time I ever did that. So sophomore and junior year, both were basically the same, lost in the semis. Yeah. Or actually, junior year was a little different.
Yeah. So it's your sophomore season, you came out of a freshman, a huge freshman campaign for you, your school, and hey, still taking third, you're still up there on the podium, I'm sure you still are, your family was still just as happy to see you up there. And you did make the jump from 126 to 145 your junior year. So let's just talk a little bit about that. Like what had transitioned you from almost to gain like 20 pounds?
I think man, I grew a decent amount that year, and 145 was kind of a tough cut. I know I wrestled 52, maybe even like 60, like way undersized a couple times that year. I think every year I've wrestled up like almost 2 weights, at least once or twice. But yeah, junior year, wrestled 52 a lot of the year, 45 at the end. So there's a crazy story about that year. At sections, I ended up losing, and still at the Minnesota State tournament, they didn't seed it. They just separated the winner and loser of your section. So the top two in the section make it. So I ended up losing the section finals, and I, took second. And I got placed in a spot in the bracket where it was number 1, 2, and 3 all in a row. If I was number 2, like before I got upset, I was number 2. But number 1 was James Plesky from Forest Lake. 2 was me, and 3 was Brock Morgan from Apple Valley. And me and Plesky wrestle first round, 1 and 2 in the state, and I lose. And
That's a wild first round match. That's
And then
wild.
the second round match was Plesky number 1 versus Brock Morgan number 3. So 1 versus 3 then wrestled, and it was single elimination. So if you lose the first round and the guy ahead of you loses, you're out of the tournament 0-1. So I'm sitting on the front row watching round number 2, and I'm watching number 1. I need the number 1 guy to win. I need Plesky to win, beat Apple Valley, and it went to the ultimate overtime. Like, I literally was watching like my junior year state tournament on the line, and it went to the ultimate overtime ride out, 0-0. Neither of them could ride them for at all. And then both overtimes, both got away right away. And then, it was a coin flip, whoever scored first, basically. And Brock Morgan chose down. And he had to get away, and if he gets away, he wins. And I needed my guy to ride him out. And somehow he rode him out and held on to his ankles and made it 30 seconds. And I got pulled back into the tournament. And now I have to wrestle the number 3 guy in the state. So right away when the brackets got drawn, we knew one of the top 3 guys wasn't placing. It wasn't possible.
Yeah.
And
you knew it wasn't going to be you.
Right, but I lost the first 2 out of 3, and I'm like, it could be me now. Crap. So after I get pulled back in, I got a battle against Morgan. And then everyone was like, that's just not fair. Like, Brock Morgan's a top 3 wrestler in the state, and he is, has to wrestle the top 2 guys basically, and he loses out. He went 1 and 2. And, after that, I kind of dominated all the way to 3rd place. Plesky ended up winning the state title. Then the guy who beat me in the section finals made it to the finals on the other side. But that was a wild tournament.
That's crazy. The way that they do that is incredible, though.
So yeah, the next year they had, and from now on they've seeded the state tournament like normal. So they have good matchups in the finals. I mean, there's upsets, but
yeah. So you take another bronze medal home, and I'm sure you were still good with that. So let's just talk a little about your senior year. So when did the college offer start rolling in for you? Was it like your junior year, or was it more your senior year?
I think junior year was pretty slow after that. Smaller schools a lot. But after the season ended, I started that's when I think going into senior year, I went to the NWTC camp, freestyle camp here in Nebraska, and that was where my recruiting got started and where I, became interested in Nebraska. And junior year, senior year, I was getting pretty big, bulking up. And so some coaches didn't, a lot of them said 65, 74. And I was like, nah, I'm going to be 84, maybe 74 my first year, but probably 84. And, so I ended up going 82 my senior year. But I still wasn't big of an 82. So.
Yeah. So you're wrestling 82 your senior year. How was that? Was that kind of different from if you think about your freshman season wrestling 106? I'm sure that was.
Yeah. It was a way different experience. I think the biggest thing about that year was I wasn't nervous before every single match. I was like, okay, because especially freshman year and sophomore, junior year, I'm cutting a lot of weight. Guys are usually more mature than me. They've been at that weight class for 2-3 years, and I've only been here 1. I was worried about getting overpowered and with guys who were just super strong. And then my senior year, I lifted a ton and I got big, and I could move better than those. I could move like a lightweight, but I was strong, like an upper weight. And for the first season, I wasn't really nervous for any matches except maybe a few.
So you weren't cutting weight to wrestle 82?
No. I was probably walking around 79, 80. I cut down to 70. It was like a small cut, not bad, for the Christmas tournament. So I could go wrestle Mark Hall. So I cut down and wrestled him in the finals of that tournament.
How was that?
I was like, oh my gosh, he is so strong. He mat returned me once, and I realized if I was this strong, I feel like I could do some of the same things. But it was awesome to wrestle him and get a feel for him and feel how much better. He just moves so well, and So I was glad that I went down to wrestle him, even if I took a loss on my record,
Yeah. Hey, it's a reasonable loss. No one's gonna look at your record and be like, "Oh, he lost to Mark Hall." It's still somebody who's an incredible who had an incredible collegiate career.
Isn't Mark Hall the only guy to win 6 state titles though? Minnesota.
I think I feel like one other person a long time ago.
But he's still like one of the top guys in history.
One of the only guys to win 6. Yeah.
It's wild. So it's your senior season. Did you play any other sports in high school?
No, I think my senior year I probably could have played football, but I was like, that's too much. That's a lot for me to learn. Like, I just want to focus on wrestling in the preseason instead. So, yeah.
So it's you're there again. You're at your state tournament. How it's your senior year. How was that really feeling for you that this is kind of your last ride?
It was fun. Super exciting. So that year I lost. I was number 2. Lucas Jessica was number 1 from STMA, and he beat me earlier in the year, so I lost to him and Mark Hall. So he was number 1, I was number 2, and it was seeded. And we both pinned our way to the finals. And then kind of a crazy fact, so my high school, Farmington high school team, we made it to team state my junior and senior year. And my junior year, I got the all team state, whatever it is, all tournament team for at 145 my junior year. And then my senior year, I got the all tournament team at 195. So like
that's
a
wild. 50-pound jump. Yeah.
So, but yeah, anyway, individual state tournament, Jessica and I, dominated our way to the finals. Had a fun match in the finals, and I ended up majoring them actually. So
that's awesome. So you find yourself a 2-time state champ, a 2-time third place. That's got to be kind of surreal for you that it was kind of over after that last match, get that last major decision win, and it was kind of like, wow, this is it. I'll never put on the Farmington singlet again, and it was just kind of like, wow. But you obviously had an incredible high school career. Do you know what your final record was?
I can't remember. I think we could wrestle 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
I think 200 and something, maybe 20 something. I don't know, around there, 200 and something.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's that's just incredible. Great high school career. And when did you commit to Nebraska, during your season or after?
But at the beginning of my senior year, so I took my visits that fall, and then I went to Minnesota, UNI, Nebraska for official visits, and then committed shortly after, a week or so after those visits, and then I was ready to go. That whole year I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like no matter what. That's probably, again, another reason we're probably less nervous. You're like, hey, no matter what, I'm still going to Nebraska. I'm still going to be able to wrestle.
Right. I think I had a good relationship with those coaches already, and they were like, texting me throughout that season, things to work on in wrestling and stuff like that. And I was already super excited to go on to the next step there.
Yeah, so I'm going to pass it to Akil, and he's going to just, hey, you're off to Nebraska.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so of course you go in, you take a red shirt like most people will. You said you're 182 your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're a little bit undersized to an extent, for the college level. Take that year, you build into it a little bit better. You go 28-4 in your redshirt season, just like it's very solid, especially as an upper weight freshman coming in. Just like walk me through that just a little bit.
Yeah, so coming out of high school, super excited about college, really ready to work hard, and I had a ton of good partners in the room that year. So Dudley was the 84 starter that year, and he was a senior. And, he was like, at first he was like, no, I'm not going with you. Like, you're too small. Like, he was like, he just looked at me. He's like, I'm not going with that freshman. And then one day we like had to go together, and Snyder was like, Dudley, just go with Venz. And then by the end of that practice, he was like, I want to go with you next time. Like, we became really good practice partners really, really quickly, but he also just loved to kick the snot out of me and just,
Yeah.
beat me down. Like I felt, I took my beatings from him, Aaron Studebaker, who's a pretty undersized 197. So he's a strong dude. Austin Trotman was in the room that year, and then Eric Schultz and I would wrestle. Even like Micah Barnes was a senior. I took my beatings that year, but I kind of did well in competition, and I was always, because I was pushed so hard in the room, I was ready to fight in competition. I realized like, oh, these opens aren't as hard as I thought, like because the room, I getting beat so much worse in the room, But I learned a lot even just starting that first year, and grew a lot as a wrestler.
Yeah, so Nebraska is one of those teams I've seen like throughout the years, like they've been up there, but they just haven't been able to break into like that top tier. And but this year, you have guys like Chad Red, who's gonna be your lower weight really, and then you have like a mini Murderers Row, so I can stand set up with like Labriola, yourself, and Eric Schultz. If Christian Lance can put together a good season,
Right.
Yeah,
it's easier said than done at the Big Ten, the heavyweight.
You got some solid upper weights.
Yeah, we do.
A guy like Schultz could very well take that Big Ten title this year.
Absolutely.
With Colin Moore gone.
I think Schultz is the best guy in the country for sure.
Yeah. 197 is wide open too.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and I think he's just gotten better and better each year so consistently, and he looked dangerous this year. I think he would have done great at nationals.
Consistency is going to win that title in 97 because that's what none of the guys have shown so far.
Right. I see it from him.
So we'll go into your actual freshman season, and this is going to be your best season right to date.
Probably.
So just talk to me a little bit about like the regular season, like.
Yeah, so started off pretty quick. I won the Dactronics. I think I like bonus point everyone. And then I got a big dual meet win, my first home dual meet. Maybe a one away dual win. I went to Vegas and I had I pinned Drew Foster there. I beat another All-American, beat a bunch of guys. I lost to Miles Martin, took third at Vegas basically. And then so I jumped up into the rankings and was like, whoa, big. And I was having a ton of fun, and then had some ups and downs throughout that year, like matches where guys where I was way better than, like maybe down, like maybe not even ranked, and I barely beat them. I'd be exhausted and be like, dang, what's wrong with me? And so that was happening my freshman year. But, I like tournaments better generally than duels. I like wrestling in tournaments, and kind of had it figured out, I guess. Had a decent Big Tens going into nationals. So going into nationals my freshman year, I think I was ranked maybe or seeded like 8th or 9th ish, maybe 4. And then I actually, so going into that tournament, I thought that I had mono for a while. What happened was I got staph infection after Big Tens, like a small one, like just 3 red dots on my neck. And then I had to take these antibiotics, and the doctor never really told me like, hey, these are going to make you feel drowsy and weak. Like I didn't know if it was going to affect me. And it just turned out, when I started taking that medication at practice, I was getting really worn out and weak and like couldn't make it through a hard drill. And basically going into nationals, I was pretty scared. I was like, I don't know if it's these pills. I don't know if I'm sick. And I ended up stopping taking the pills before I finished them and started to feel a little bit better for nationals. And, that was a wild experience. I lost early in the second round, coming all the way back to the third place match. It was really just in a deep flow state the whole time.
Yeah. So a big thing you got to talk about is your Big Ten tournament as a freshman. It looks like a pretty good tournament I'm looking at right here. I think one of the bigger wins of your career, you beat Emory Parker of Illinois. 9-4, which is pretty dominating. He's a really good guy, but just been a little bit out here by guys like Miles Martin. And you said you pinned Drew Foster too, who's a national champ. So Drew Foster had an amazing run that year, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and then you place fourth. You drop a match to Dom Abinator, but again, that's another really good dude. Gave Bo Nickel a scare in that match, so pretty dominant tournament like as a freshman. And you obviously have Bo Nickel, Miles Martin going first and second right there.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Sure. Yep.
yeah, it's pretty much honestly the best you could have done. You're probably expected. You probably see around fifth or sixth in that tournament. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
place,
So, yeah. I think so.
yeah. Placing fourth is like people like, oh, you knocked off a couple ranked dudes right there. You got to see you a little bit higher in nationals. You come in as the 8 or 9 seed, so you're basically set up to have Bo Nickel if you make it to the quarterfinals. Have you ever wrestled him before that?
I have still never wrestled Bo Nickel, but like that match with Emery Parker was wild. He beat me earlier that year and actually headlocked him at Big Tens, and that was a fun match. But yeah, like you said, fourth at Big Tens is pretty cool. I remember one thing Dudley told me before my third place match. He's like, they don't give any awards to anyone other than top three. So you better win this match. He's like, oh, he's probably kidding, but all right. And then I lost. I took fourth, and I get up there, and they gave these big medals out to all the top three guys, but fourth place didn't actually get anything. So I was like, oh my gosh, he wasn't kidding.
Yeah. I mean, you still get the bid to nationals. I think you probably had like 6 or 7 bids.
Yeah, plenty of bids at my weight every year.
Yeah, it tends to be a stronger weight in Big Ten. I think heavyweight might even go up to like 10 or 11 this year. The way it's going.
Yeah, they got a ton of Big Ten heavyweights.
Just the guys are transferring in. And then you always have like the weaker teams, like teams that should be weaker, like Illinois, Michigan State. But then at 184, again, you have guys like Emery Parker. You have Cameron Caffey coming in just out of nowhere, really. Right. So it kind of just solidifies everybody. There's no real weak link in the Big Ten like there normally is, except for maybe like Maryland or somebody like that. But you don't see that too often. So, yeah, you come into the national tournament, you wrestle some tough guys, like Zach Savatsky from Virginia Tech, Max Dean, who made the national finals, and the third place match, you have a rematch with Emery Parker. Just talk to me a little bit about how was that? Like what really changed?
Yeah, so that that tournament, I ended up wrestling beat a Hawkeye in the backside, then I wrestled NC State guy who took third. What's his name?
Pete Renda,
yeah, Pete Renda. He beat me earlier that year in our home duel, and he's a super strong guy, but I wrestled an amazing match. Got like 6.5 minutes of riding time.
Yeah, you majored in
11-3.
After that, I was pretty free. I wrestled Max Dean really well. Beat Zavatsky. And then, that match with Emery Parker. So, 30 seconds in, I sprained my ankle pretty bad. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to wrestle. But my trainer started taping it up, and coach was like, he's going to choose down because I took injury time. He's choose down. You're going to do this, that, cradle him. I'm like, okay, fine. All right, I guess we got a plan. We'll go for it. And basically, I couldn't really do much with that foot. I don't know if I could have driven off of it or not, but it was really painful, and I wasn't finding anything. And he kind of he knew that I was hurt, and he could have got over aggressive or anything, or could have tried to hurt me worse or anything, but he didn't. And I just was like, I can't really defend some of his stuff, but I'm going to fight hard and hand fight hard to the end. And I was pretty emotional after, I wanted to come back and win and take third place. That's a good feeling. And,
that's kind of your high school story for a couple of your years. You fought back through the tournament and took third.
Yeah. And, I'd been to a ton of national tournaments. I think I'd watched 5 or 6 of them before going after I qualified. So I had gone for 9 or 10 years straight before this year got canceled. So I watched it growing up as a kid in person and seeing the blood round stuff and all the drama behind that. And now I've been on both sides of it, so.
Yeah, so, fourth in the country, that's an amazing tournament as a freshman, especially as a guy, you're not one of those, you weren't like a number one recruit coming out of high school, and to put together like a solid season like that, it would be looked at more, but, Bo had that huge pin in the finals against Miles Martin, which is pretty much the only thing people really cared about at 184, that rivalry right there.
Right.
Just, Bo was the guy at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were the best too in the country for sure, and so they
Did
were
you
excited.
ever wrestle, what's his name, Gabe Dean at all?
I never wrestled Gabe Dean,
Never.
but I wrestled Max Dean 3 times.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 times.
Yeah. No, that was probably one of my favorite finals matches. Bo versus Gabe Dean. Just insane to see.
Right. Yeah, Gabe Dean, that was a good one. I watched it the other day.
It's like one of the guys who he's like so technically sound to the point where like he's not going to get caught in any of that. So it makes Bo have to go for like his actual attacks on him.
Yeah, Dean had a great first takedown, and then they had that scramble, and then they challenged it and gave Bo another takedown at the end.
Yeah. So this happens. You're right. You ran like a hot streak kind of into your next season. You could have placed third, but you got injured a little bit. But you're still coming off a very solid campaign. You can be set to be a 4-time All-American. Coming into your sophomore season, just walking through what happens a little bit.
Yeah, so that season had a lot of ups and downs too, for sure. Had some big wins. I took second at Vegas, lost to Miles Martin. I beat Drew Foster at home. I beat Max Dean in the All-Star Classic that year, preseason. I beat Emory Parker at home. But I also had plenty of losses, and plenty of them that I just tried to forget, basically. And, Nationals was a weird one. I was maybe not in the right headspace. It was definitely a mental thing, not necessarily a physical thing that year.
At 184 was like everything was all over the place, honestly, for the most part. You have guys like out of nowhere making huge runs like Chip Ness, Drew Foster.
Yeah.
You have Max Dean knocking off Miles Martin. Martin made him earlier in the season,
Yeah.
It got to like the point where like you have guys just quitting.
Crazy stuff happens every year. And like Chip Ness is always doing good, upsetting people, beat me my freshman year on the front side. And then sophomore year I lost to Ryan Price, second round. And then came back, beat guys on the backside like Nick Reenan, who's beaten me 3 times before. We almost had like a little rivalry, and so I got to beat him, which was good, and then fun, I guess. And then I wrestled another guy, and then made to the blood round against Zavatsky, and it was just a weird match. Like, I took him down first. I remember. He might have got a reversal, and I didn't get away. Just a weird, like surreal moment after losing that. It was just like, I can't believe that just happened, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty tough dealing with that over the summer, kind of. But
especially taking a loss like in the blood round, it's like do or die at that point. It's like where dreams are either made or broken right there. To lose that by 1 point, it's just like.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on that moment, and you can either be let completely free, like I was my freshman year, and wrestle the best match you ever have, or be just a little bit too tense and, lose it just by a hair. So.
Yeah, because like, you had to go through it once your freshman year. You're expecting to just make it to the semis. Maybe if you drop a match there, the worst you do is 6. You're still an All-American at that point. But, a lot of things you see is like the older guys, blood round, it's like where they succeed. Like you have freshmen putting too much pressure on themselves there, and then just younger guys in general.
Right.
And then they just do dumb stuff. So that's the main thing you see. So that's the story of that. You got to make a huge comeback next season. You have 2 more years to get it done.
Yeah.
So you're coming into your junior season, your best season yet, mostly. What happened for nationals. It is, you can't really do nothing about that. But
right,
came into the season, extremely solid season. I think you were the 1 seed at Big Tens or 2 seed.
No, it was actually pretty low because I was like 3 or 4.
You're 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think weren't you 2 and then Brooks was 3.
Well, no, because Brooks was 1, but I lost to Caffey. I lost to Ohio State. I lost to Iowa.
Yeah.
So.
You redeemed most of those losses.
Yep.
Caffey was just riding that hot streak, honestly. I don't think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew in my match with him, like everything was super close. Even my first takedown was a very close call. They could have been 0-2, and then my second takedown was a close one. Then time ran out. He's a good scrambler.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was really just I bellied down, and all I had to do was lay there and go to overtime or get away within a minute and stay calm. And I had a full minute to get away, and I kind of tried to let his leg in and tried to do too much, and just wasn't smart. Like I was just not, kind of sounds like I'm making excuses, but I was just not wrestling the right way, at the very, the last minute. Other than that, I feel like I can wrestle better against him for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You get knocked off in that round. You get your way to who do you have in the? You had Aaron Brooks in the semifinals. Guy you beat earlier in the season. I was looking through your Instagram and I see Brooks's comment on that post. Yeah,
that's funny.
It's the guy you beat earlier in the season. Again, Brooks is just like the guy right now for Penn State. It was just his year to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we wrestled in that dual meet, and I had a big win over him, and then he got me at Big Tens, and it's just he's a really talented wrestler, and we both have a lot of technique. And I think we kind of sometimes, like when I wrestle a lot of guys, they try to slow things down, and they do the same thing to him. But when we wrestle each other, we just let it fly, and usually there's a lot of scoring going on. So.
And then just something got caught up.
Right, and I make a mistake where my head's too close to my knee and he cradles me up. It's like, oh dang, I knew that one. Like I do that, I do that sometimes. Like
it's kind of like risky to play that game with the guy.
He's dangerous for sure.
Yeah, and with a guy like Caffey too, in general, like
he's guys good at body throws.
That was a great final. Like those are two, probably the most athletic guys in the country at any weight. So. And that's where you see like a transition in this like 184 to like all the way to heavyweight. You see like guys who are just like raw athletes competing. There's a little bit less of like the Mark Hall is just grinding it out, going like overtime and stuff.
Yeah.
You have more like Zahid Valencia, like attack based kind of.
That's what I was going to touch on quick. Like, how did you feel when you heard that Zahid was done for the season? What kind of went through your head at that point? Like.
I was just upset because I felt like I was the only guy in the country who could beat him. And, I mean, I really felt like other guys didn't know. Like, I knew how to wrestle him. I knew how to beat him. Like, I was confident that I could. Like, I could have got it done. I was, inches away, basically, the first tournament of the year when I lost to him. And I saw him. I think Brooks is one of the better guys in the country, and he beat Brooks pretty solidly. And I was just like, I really want this guy to lose at nationals, and I think I got to be the guy to do it. And so I was upset when I found out he got popped for his third failed test. But at the same time, I guess it is what it is. And,
I mean, you took a tough loss against him, an 8-7 loss, against a guy like Zahid Valencia who – kind of dominated Mark Hall in that weight class. They went back and forth for a really long time. And, I definitely.
Yeah, another match I wanted to touch on is can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. The match I want to touch on is Zahid Valencia versus Daniel Lewis, if you ever saw that match.
Was that the one at Nationals or like the dual meet?
It's the one that he got pinned in.
Okay, you cradled him up, right?
Yeah.
I remember it, but I don't don't know if I even watched it or when I watched it, but I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, because like not many people were expecting that match to be like anything crazy, so nobody was really watching it. I think it was at Mizzou also,
Right.
like
Yeah, it was.
and then nobody really even knew about the day of until Flo really posted something about it, but they just didn't post the video. So I literally went through like about 100 YouTube videos trying to find that clip because
Dang.
it was posted like in the match video.
Yeah.
You know, like crazy matches like that nobody really expects to happen, and then you think, oh, Zahid might not be the guy this year, and then he comes back, majors Daniel Lewis in the semifinals, just leaves no doubt there. And he comes back and just abuses really Mark Hall that match.
Right. I mean, he's shown he's had some ups and downs, and that happens for a lot of guys, I guess. But for the most part, yeah, we all know that when he's at his best, he can, like, he won those senior level tournaments during the year this year. But every once in a while, there's a guy who pushes him. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you were kind of that guy this season, though.
If you can figure
were the
him
guy
out,
that. Yeah, you were the guy that put. You did take a tough loss, but you still were there. It wasn't like all of a sudden you got blown away.
right.
Yeah, so if he does compete in the Olympic trial, is he banned or still?
I don't know what the ruling would be for. I just know.
I don't think so anymore, right?
He's probably fine. I just know for ASU.
If he goes in at 86, is it possible, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the better guys in the country there. I guess it'd be
Think he beats David Taylor?
I think give him a good match. I think I'd probably put my money on David Taylor, though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I put my money on.
I mean,
David
he's
Taylor.
done he's had
I'd put my money on him. I mean, he's really good. He deserves to be at that level probably, but I got David Taylor over him.
He also bleached his hair. I just thought I'd put that out there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but I don't want to see that.
Yeah. So, you placed third in the Big Ten. Your best finish there yet. Although it wasn't the tournament you wanted, still pretty solid. You're riding high off a win going into the national tournament. I think you were seeded like 5th or something there.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. The seeds were because you have guys like Taylor Lujan and Trent Ivory. But they're all seeded all over the place because they wrestle each other the whole season.
Yeah.
But you don't really have too many crossover matches except for the CKLV, so
yeah,
it's kind of interesting there. So yeah, after you found out that it got canceled due to coronavirus, what was your initial thought?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit, talk about going into Big Tens. Just part of this year was I took some tough losses, like we were talking about. I lost to Iowa, and then I lost to Michigan State, and then even the Ohio State match at home was a really tough one.
So that would have been Caffey, Rocky Jordan, and Ava Sod?
Right, yep. And so after the Rocky Jordan loss, man, that was really rough. Yeah. And I almost didn't want to wrestle for a while, and I knew I wanted to, but I talked to my coaches a lot. My family helped keep my head up a lot at that time, and then after that, really had a renewed mindset and just kind of a renewed spirit, and I didn't lose after that until the Big Ten match, and so I wrestled like Purdue guy, I wrestled at Minnesota, which was fun, in my home state. Got to wrestle there finally. And then wrestled Michigan, Jelani Embry at home. Basically, I was wrestling better and better and better every time. And then it got to Big Tens, and I took that loss, and I was like, hey, you can either get sad about it like you did the last time or just choose to move on by the time you're done walking down this hallway, and you got an opportunity to beat some guys on the back end. And then, I woke up, had to make weight the next day. But I get to wrestle Rocky Jordan, and I just, I lost to him. And that was the guy I lost to. That was at my lowest point. And then, I took him down. I was up 7-0 in the second period when I put him to his back and pinned him, so that felt really good. And then, I kind of got some energy back in me, and then I'm in the third place match, and this is the third year in a row I've been in the third place match at Big Tens. You know, I've taken fourth the last 2 years. You don't get a medal for those taking fourth, and get to wrestle a Hawkeye that I lost to. And you know, I just let it fly. Our whole team really was doing great. We had tons of guys in the third place matches, and 1 or 2 in the fifth place match, and everyone won. I think everyone but one guy won their last match, and so I was like just rolling off my team's energy, and it felt good to wrestle that Hawkeye and beat him at the last match of the season.
Yeah, you know, and then pretty much
Those kids
going
can't.
into yours. Yeah. So a big thing I want to touch on is, you know, Iowa at the 184 spot. At the beginning of the year, they had Nelson Brands, and then they switched to Abe Assad.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I don't really know what the question is there, but, you know,
Yeah.
Brands had some big wins over guys like Sammy Colbray from Iowa State.
Yeah.
And then he just became a little bit inconsistent. They really switched him out.
Yeah, I mean, they had Cash Wilkie in there too, and I wrestled Wilkie, split matches, I think, with him my sophomore year. And they put, I mean, seemed to kind of, I guess, every time an Iowa wrestler lost, they basically sat him the next match. And at 84, you saw that with, it would be Wilkie, then Brands, then Wilkie, then Brands, then Brooks had a really good, or Assad had a really good Midlands, and they pull him. Then he took a loss to Caffey, so they throw, you know, Wilkie back in. And, you know, by the end, I figured Assad was the best, but I thought, you know, I think it'd be fun to wrestle all of them.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
Wilkie's
I
like
couldn't believe it when I saw that Brands like was not wrestling for a while. I was like, dang, I didn't see that coming. I mean, I guess you see coaching staff, you know, especially when someone is in your family like that, you know, you got to do what's best for the team. It's not always about, you know, yourself and what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, they must have some sort of system, because it was quite the pattern this year, because they would switch guys out or give them a week off or something after they lost at every weight, really.
Yeah.
Almost every weight. Not 25.
So, you know, coming into this is your last run, right?
Yep.
You got to battle it out for you know. You have Max Dean come back from the redshirt. You have Miles Mean coming back. 2 extremely tough guys. And then you have guys like Lou Dupre from Binghamton, Trent Hidley from NC State.
Brooks.
You know, Aaron Brooks from Penn State, obviously, and Cameron Caffey. So you should be ranked 6th. You know, nothing really you can control there yet, but every match there's going to be a battle. It's not like you're going to really just pin kids all over the place at this weight class. So, like, what's the big thing you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm super excited to go into my last year. I just think leaving it all out on the table and cherishing the moments I have with my team and just enjoying my time, and being a mature leader too is something, you know, there's a lot of guys you listed at my weight, but I think, you know, I've seen rankings go up and down, and there's no reason to follow them or care about them. For me, I don't need to care about that. I just need to worry about getting better at wrestling day by day. And when it's the day comes to compete and wrestle those guys, just focus on what I can do to beat them. And if I can be the best version of myself, like that's all that matters. And 1 and 2, I think I'd probably be the best guy. So, but the challenge isn't, the challenge is just getting out of my own way and let myself wrestle my best consistently. So I think that consistency thing is the biggest part for me, is just having the maturity to be consistent mentally and physically.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, you know, senior season, you're gonna be battle tested. I think pretty much anybody can come out on top. There's not one defined guy like there's been in years past.
Yeah.
So, you know, after that's all said and done, what are you really looking forward to after college? Like, are you gonna start wrestling on the freestyle scene, or probably gonna?
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to just staying in the same room with Nebraska. Probably go to NWTC or the NWTC, and, you know, training there at the senior level, 86 kilos probably, and then, maybe I want to get into coaching after college. That's my dream job, and want to coach at the collegiate level. And I could be a grad assistant, and I'm going to continue my education too. So working on my graduate school, maybe get that paid for through Nebraska. But I'll basically be sticking around rest on senior level.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything else to touch on before I go into the fun part of the episode?
Yeah, nah, just go into it.
All right, we usually like to end off an episode by asking you some really fun questions. We had Trent Hilger on last night. He gave us some pretty good ones. So you don't look like a guy who cuts much weight, so we'll start off with this one. What's your ideal cheat meal? You get a cheat meal, any meal. Let's just say in a dream where you don't put on any weight from eating it. What's your go-to?
Probably just a big burger with, a side of fries and like a chocolate shake. I love chocolate shakes. And, like a burger, a big burger, just a plain burger, but.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Trent's was a gallon of Oreo ice cream. There's something with Wisconsin and Oreos because Evan Wick said Oreos too. I don't know what they're feeding them.
Ice cream is best. I don't know what you're trying to get at right there.
All right, so let's go with. We asked Trent the same question. Go to fast food place when you could eat it.
Honestly, probably Cane's.
Cane's. I heard that it's so good. We don't have that around here.
Really? Yeah. It's nice.
It's good. All right. Here's we have we'll do two more. If you could take 4 of your teammates into the zombie apocalypse with you, who you bring it with you?
4 of my teammates. Oh man, dude, my house might be the best. I think I'd have to bring Mikey because he's just a beast. He's a bull. He's like, but he's smart too. Mikey. Oh man. So my house is Mikey Labriola, Cade Sabota, 97-pounder. He's going to be in graduate school this year. And then Tucker Schomling, who's from Minnesota as well. Those might be my 4 guys, or my other 3 guys.
Those are your other 3?
Yeah. We got a pretty tough group here at the house here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
At the Lincoln, Nebraska house. All right, and your final question. If you could have one dream match, if you could wrestle one match with anybody, who would it be? Dead, alive, Olympian, anybody who you're wrestling?
I think I would probably pick me, in my best condition, ready to go, trained for it against, about an equal size Cale Sanderson and like Pete. Yeah. I mean, maybe even like 97, like if Cale's senior year versus me at 97 next year, which I'm not going 97, but like if I were, I don't know, that'd be the best possible guy I could think of. And I think, it'd be awesome I actually did get to feel Cale's wrestle one time. I rolled around with him at the OCC one time, and that was a pretty cool experience. So
yeah, I've rolled around with Cale Sanderson as well, and it's a crazy experience.
Yeah,
he is somebody that could wrestle you at any weight. I saw him wrestle heavyweights. I see him wrestle 106 pounders, and he's something.
Yeah, man,
it's crazy.
He turns it into like a fun game, and
yeah,
pretty cool. So
yeah, when he wrestled one of my teammates, he started on his back with a half in and said, "All right, now we'll start."
Yeah,
I was like, when you're that good, where you could just be on your back and have a deep half turned on you, and you could still somehow end up getting out and pinning the other guy. I'm like, that's wild.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, I watched a lot of him, especially like in high school, like junior, senior year. I watched a lot of his film. Jared Lawrence helped me work on like his ankle pick series and hand fighting motion, and yeah, he's a great wrestler.
Yeah, so Taylor, thank you again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. We will have to catch up with you after the NCAA tournament this season. Hopefully, you got the nice big gold trophy back with you to Nebraska.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll try to catch
Anytime.
up with you, you know.
Yeah. If any of your teammates are interested, just let them know. Then we'll definitely have them on.
If you could hit up Lance for me, you know.
Yeah.
Or even Jensen. I don't even know if he's in college anymore, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he might be around Lincoln still.
He might be.
But
Yeah, I might have to hit him up. We'll see.
all right.
All right,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Yeah. So this has been episode. No, yeah. All right. This has been episode 20 of Late Night Shots with Taylor Venz, and thank you for watching.